welcome back to another episode of Pumped Up Tea. I'm Taylor.
I'm Sarah.
And we are back in our usual setup here.
Yay!
I love when we get to chat with, like, guests and stuff.
Yes.
I just miss being in, like, our usual, like, nice camera setup, you know? Because the laptop camera just does not do any of us justice.
No, and our setup is weird. Like, we're lower to the ground. Like, we have to, we cram together to, like, fit on the camera.
We're, like, hunched over.
I'm hunched. It was a good idea changing the chairs last week. Because it was easier than when we were on with Erica before, and we were still in our, like a hunchback.
Yeah, so our setup is a work in progress, guys.
You know what, though? Look at our nice backdrop. Isn't it beautiful?
We love our backdrop.
I love the backdrop.
We take a lot of pride in it, and... You know, listen, our set might not be too much, but we keep it simple and we love it.
I contemplate sometimes getting us, like, a cute neon sign for the center right here.
I would love that.
Five Below has some really cute ones that, like, fit the vibe.
And we can, like, put a little hole in, like...
In the backdrop?
In the backdrop.
Just I feel like
to hide the wire.
Like, something is missing here, you know what I mean?
We just have to make sure it's not, like, a fire hazard.
It's true. We'll figure it out. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, I'm not trying to burn my house down.
Let's not do that, no.
Well, we're just coming off of Vanderpump Rules Part 1 of the Season 11 reunion.
How are we feeling, fam?
Conflicted. Confused.
Confused.
I have more questions than I have answers.
It felt weird. Like, that whole first part, I sat there feeling, like, weird.
It was very tame to start with, right? Because obviously coming off of last year.
Maybe that's what it is. It's like the difference in it's so calm compared to we went in like balls to the wall last year, and I feel like in the finale it ended very like aggressively, and then to like start the reunion so like, hi everybody, how's life? How are we doing? How's the baby, Lala? Tom, why the fuck did you say that weird shit on the New York Times? It was just very subdued. I think that's what's bothering me. It was subdued, and then all of a sudden it was like, boom, drama.
Yeah.
In like the last 2 minutes, and now I'm like, what was the point?
Right. I feel, I feel kind of lethargic from that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was waiting for a moment where I would like whip out the Instagram and like record our reaction, but like, I missed them because I wasn't, like, anticipating the moments where you and I were, like, screaming to be, like, the moment. Like, I was waiting, like, for, like, a setup, and I didn't have one. Because it was just, like, boom, this shit. And then I was, like, waiting, and then there was no...
You know what I'm going to say about that?
What?
They just went in, no foreplay, no lube, just... Bite the pillow, I'm going in. Every topic.
Everything was very much like... And then the only real thing we had any, like, little foreplay for was, like, that thing at the end with Lala and Katie. But even that, thinking about it, like, I'm still just confused.
Listening to Lala talk on podcasts is coming in handy just for this particular moment. But before we go further into the reunion, I guess we'll go into the tea of the week because we didn't really get to do the tea of the week last week. No,
we didn't.
We kind of just spilled the tea as we recap the reunion, or the finale, I should say.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much to Jihei from the Real Bitch of Bravo podcast for joining us last week.
It was fun.
So fun.
My fellow New York Rangers girly.
If you guys haven't seen the episode yet, I highly recommend that you check it out. Check out her podcast as well because I got to be on that because we got to do some Vanderpump talk with a little bit of Valley talk. So also one last thing before I do go into the tea of the week, we did put out a poll.
We did.
Yes. Basically trying to figure out what show we should do next, and it was a very close race between The Valley and Summer House. And while I was really kind of hoping for Summer House, The Valley just trumped.
You guys are making me watch Jax Taylor on my television again. I hate you all so much.
Believe it or not, I've been watching. He is really just such a small cog in the wheel.
No, listen, I know that. There's like other people on the show. We watched that episode earlier when we were eating our dinner. Like, obviously he's not like the main focus. It's just listening to him makes me want to like bash my head against the wall. Like every time he's on my screen, I just want to.
It's the principle.
Yes. It's the fact that like of all Vanderpump people we could have had back to like bring the Valley in, like we picked fucking Jax Taylor.
Okay, so tea of the week. Kind of gonna be picking up a little bit off of what I had kind of noticed from the past week. If there's
Okay.
anything, definitely, if I'm
No.
missing anything, definitely feel free
It
to
was
jump
quiet.
in.
It was a quiet week.
Andy Cohen has been cleared of all allegations that have been thrown at him
Mhm.
after an outside investigation having to do with SA and drugs.
It's
and
the Brandy stuff, right?
the Brandy stuff, but I guess there were other housewives, that came forward. I'm not too knowledgeable
Okay.
on the cases themselves,
No,
but I think most of it was Brandy.
Okay.
Watch What Happens Live and The Valley have been renewed by Bravo for another season. There were other shows that were released on a list that Bravo themselves had put out. Noticeably, VPR was not on that list.
No, I think because they had said season 12 is on a hiatus from filming, it kind of is like obviously got renewed. Or maybe they're just waiting to see how the rest of this season goes and how the summer with everybody's projects goes. And maybe like once Ariana is done with her things and everything, they'll come back and be like, where are we? Like, who wants to be on it? Or like we were talking about on our live before the episode, that they're trying to see if they can revamp the show.
Yeah, because I was going to say, Andy Cohen did say that this was not the end of VPR. He was very assertive in saying that. So it sounds like we are still going to get more VPR. There just may not be a guarantee that we're going to see everybody.
The VPR that we know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the next piece of tea.
Okay.
The cast of VPR minus Tom Sandoval had removed Bravo and VPR from their Instagram bios.
Yes.
You are the day one VPR fan.
Mhm.
Is this a normal thing to happen within the cast? That they just remove the show that they're affiliated with from their bio?
I don't know. I never really paid attention who had it in their bio and who didn't. I don't think they really ever had it in there until maybe like season 6. You know what I mean? Like when it really started picking up. I don't necessarily know if anyone even had it in there. I know Jax didn't take his off until maybe recently when he had the Valley to replace it. But I don't know if it's anything like to be nervous about. You know what I mean? Like I can see why Ariana takes hers off. Like she's got other projects going on. Lala and Sheena taking it out. They took it out, yeah.
And Schwartz. Katie apparently said she did a while ago.
Yes, Katie has. I don't think Katie really has ever really had it in there for very long. But I don't think it's necessarily like a sign of the end times.
Yeah.
Shall we say? I think it's just like a shift. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're not known for this anymore. Well, half of them are not known for this anymore. You know what I mean? Like they have other things.
I would argue that most of them are only known for VPR.
I was trying to be generous.
Like at least a solid, like more than half of the cast.
I think James and Ariana are probably maybe the only ones that could take it out and still be just fine.
That's true. I didn't think about James, but James, yeah, especially now with his DJ career vamping up.
Yes.
Fun fact, guys, James Kennedy was actually just in Connecticut this
Yes, he
past
was.
weekend. He went to a nightclub out by one of the casinos. Wish that we could have gotten to go. It would have been a really fun time.
It was like
jelly.
really early in the morning though, guys. I'm an old lady.
Well, late at night, we should say, because like let's be real, the nightclub's open at 9. The main act doesn't usually go until about maybe like midnight. Club
sleeping.
closes at like 1 or 2.
I'm sleeping. My ass is dead on my pillow at like 11:30.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
old.
And then it's just a long drive back.
Yeah, where it was in accordance to where Tay and I live is like a good almost like 2 hours.
No, well, for me it's an hour 20.
All right. Yeah,
no, well,
so it's
hour 20 on a bad day.
Okay, so yeah, it's like an hour. Well, 2 hours was obnoxious because it's only an hour and a half to New York or Boston from where we are too. So it's a small state, y'all. Okay, everything here is within like a stone's throw. I could get anywhere in an hour. I can be in like Providence in like an hour and a half.
Yeah. Oh, you know one thing. This is just a very quick random pivot because we were going over tea of the week, but noticeably, Rachel has been quite quiet over the past week.
Oh my God.
I know that she went to an event around the time that the finale was airing, but it's weird that she's been
crickets.
Crickets. She hasn't been really giving a recap. She
no,
hasn't
at
given
least
any
once
input.
a week. I swear to God, at least once a week on the subreddit. What is her name?
Who, Rachel?
No, the recap Instagram.
Oh, Vanderpod.
Thank you. And she does the cute tan with the hot pink thing. Yes, I always forget her Instagram name because I only know her as what she posts or they post. They post on Reddit. But you're right. There was like nothing. I'm like foaming at the mouth half the time for like, where's the Rachel drama? There's nothing.
Well, she did actually, Vanderpod did put out a story, a poll even. 'Cause
Okay.
Rachel did put out an episode of her own podcast, but it wasn't in any way like related to Vanderpump.
Oh, then nobody gives a shit.
The only mention that she's really made was that and we've already heard her talk about this before on the show, but like she was having sex with James, she wasn't really orgasming, and then she started orgasming when she was sleeping with Sandoval. That was the podcast in a nutshell.
I don't necessarily believe that Tom Sandoval knows how to give an orgasm, but okay.
I mean, I would only believe it because why the fuck else would she stick around, right? Nobody's sticking around with some basically married dude for some shitty sex.
No, the thrill of it. The thrill, the mystery, you know what I'm saying? Like
But ma'am, there is no such thing as thrill in shitty sex. If I had shitty sex with a married man, I would never touch him again, you know?
Lala. Okay, there's your example.
Lala enjoyed it way more than she's willing to put out. Let's be real. Lauren.
I don't know. I find it hard to believe that Tom Sandoval knows where anything is in the anatomy of a woman, but
I would only believe it if Ariana.
Tom Sandoval hater.
Listen, no, we hate Tom Sandoval here, but the only reason why I believe he would know anything about it is because Ariana probably taught him.
You know what? That's true. And they had talked on the show before about like they had that whole thing, and like I don't know. I just find it hard to find it hard to believe that every time, without help from the girl with the vagina. Like I have a feeling you have to like you have to put in some of the work, right? I
guess which work are we talking about here?
I feel like that man does not know how to like do it and also at the same time.
No.
There's no way he's doing that as well as like, you know, there's no multitasking.
He would have to care enough to do.
As I was saying, he's not
work.
Multitasking.
Yeah.
So your hand is down there as well. That's just, you know what I'm saying? Trying to keep this PG-13 as possible. But like I firmly believe that Tom Sandoval solo
dolo
is not doing it. The lady's got to help in some way. Let's be honest, guys. Put that up as a poll.
And with that, we will go into the Vanderpump Rules episode 16 reunion part 1 recap.
Before we get into it, guys, did you see the Duracell commercial?
Oh my god. I screamed.
You screamed, I screamed, we all screamed.
I scream jumped out of my couch.
She did, and then she shoved the phone up and look! I was like, oh my god!
Look at it! You did a Duracell commercial!
Duracell is now my favorite brand of batteries of all time. Whoever is running the marketing for Duracell, they're in the comments. They're making like, it's a millennial, a Bravo millennial is running that shit, and I've never been so excited. I will only buy Duracell now.
I love that these companies are being taken over by the Gen Z millennials.
Oh, I love it so much.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
They're giving, you know what it is? They're giving these brands personality that they have been lacking all of these years. Like, we know people are going to buy these brands,
obviously.
right? They don't necessarily have to do the work.
No, because they're
always
proven
going
that
to
they
exist.
work. Yes, like Duracell doesn't need it because everyone knows Duracell is like probably like one of the best batteries.
Right. Like, who does Duracell truly compete with? Fucking Costco?
The batteries that have green.
I don't even know.
I don't know. I always buy Duracell.
Exactly. And I'm going to continue buying Duracell.
Yes, exactly.
By the way, Costco does sell Duracell, by the way. So if you want to spend the extra couple bucks, you know.
Yeah. No, we have like this giant, when we moved Meme out of her Florida house, my grandfather's was like a Costco BJ's like fiend. Like that man loved that shit. Mm-hmm. So we have like a giant plastic like Tupperware bin that we took from our house of like, I don't need batteries for like 20 years. Let's just say that.
I will always stock up on batteries. Like, I get that.
I do not need batteries. That has been at my house for like 3 years, and I have yet to have to buy batteries.
I'm kind of curious, and leave in the comments how long do you go in between buying new batteries? I'm just really curious.
I feel like you don't buy them until you need them. Like before we had this giant stockpile, it would be like, oh shit, I need batteries.
Like I feel like So we did recently buy batteries in one of our Costco hauls, like
Mhm.
maybe over the last like couple of months.
Mhm.
But I want to say the last time I bought batteries before then was probably within the last like 2 years.
Mhm.
I want to say probably around the time that I bought my house.
Yeah, because like when you actually need them for something, and then like you don't, that's something that I'm thinking about adding to my grocery list every month.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not thinking about batteries. To me is like, oh shit, my remote died. I gotta pick some up on the way home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
I know that Duracell commercial was so good.
It was
and I
amazing.
continue to stand and on this pod.
And Ariana's feature, by the way,
Oh my God,
in the
Ariana's
battery
feature
commercial.
iconic. I know.
And you bought batteries
Again! So good.
So good.
I love how messy it is in it's a beautiful mess. It is, you know what I'm saying? Like they're throwing sass like nobody's business.
As they should.
They're being messy, but they're being like positively messy.
Very positively messy.
You know what I mean? That's like throwing shade, but like in a fantastic way.
I mean, listen, it was well earned.
It really
very
was.
well
No,
earned.
I love Anne has gotten, she had Amazon, now she had the Alexa ad, now she's got the battery, Duracell. I love this for her.
I hope she continues to get more.
Me too. Me too.
I hope that she's on Watch What Happens Live tonight. Maybe if we finish in time.
No,
we'll go
it's
watch. No, I mean like as a bartender.
Oh, as a bartender. Oh, maybe.
I think that's what they asked for the podcast to be on, like as bartenders. Like I don't think they were going to be like the main guests.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but we only ever finish filming at like 11:30.
It's because we go on a lot of tangents.
Let's try not to tangent. As she says, while we just went on a whole tangent.
It's wishful thinking.
It really is. No, it is.
And to note take, right? Okay, it's 9:36 p.m.
Okay.
Eastern time as we are recording this.
All right, let's see when we finish.
The episode ended at 9. It took us a few minutes to kind of get ourselves ready to get everything going.
Yeah.
Also, because I always forget until the end, this will be the last tangent.
Plug it.
Plug it all.
Plug it all.
Follow us on Instagram at Pumped Up Tea and TikTok. We're on Instagram and TikTok. Join our Patreon at Pumped Up Tea. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave comments. Like our videos an odd number of times. Literally just do all of the things. I'm glad that we finally got the plugs out of the way. We're streaming on all platforms as well, by the way. Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Amazon. I'm probably missing some, but you name it, we're pretty likely on it. Anyways, okay, now on to the recap.
Yes.
We start off the part 1 of the reunion, weirdly, exactly the same way almost as season 10 started, I noticed, with all like the cars coming into the driveway,
how we
getting
start.
ready.
Most reunions for every franchise starts that way. The Housewives goes that way. The only one that isn't is like Below Deck, but that's because everybody is literally on every corner of the earth when they do the reunions. So their reunions are always Zoom.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
So yeah, Below Deck, when they do their reunions, is the only one where you never see the people arriving and they're in their green rooms. That one is always just via Zoom because most of the crew is already off doing other yachting things.
Interesting.
While they're doing their yes. So that's like the only one where you don't see, like the Housewives, you always see them getting ready and talking shit before. Vanderpump's the same way. So like Below Deck's, I think, the only one that doesn't do it that way.
Okay.
So most reunions have always started with this kind of like, everybody arrives, how are we feeling? We're getting ready, and then blah, blah, blah. And then you have Lala out here like, hey, look at me, Duke's up. And then you got Ariana over here like.
I completely forgot that happened. Like, I remember they showed it. Well, I remember they did it in the previews, right? Mm-hmm. That's so weird.
I know Katie's face in that moment really sticks out to me because Lala's out here because like as you know, Ariana, as she said in tonight's episode, has not watched, and her reason, we'll get into the reason why she didn't watch, which I think was fantastic of her. It was very smart of her. It was very protective of her like it was a good idea, right? Plus she's fucking busy, y'all. Okay, Broadway's not an easy thing to do, okay? Yeah. But Katie has watched this season. Katie has seen every episode. Katie knows what Lala has been saying behind the scenes. So Katie's face when Lala was like, hey, Ariana, and did a little like eye look thing with like the Dukes up, and Katie's like eye roll of like, bitch, are you serious? Because she fucking knows.
Mm-hmm. Well, Andy starts off with, of course, like the intros, how's everybody doing, as per usual. And then the first topic that's brought up is Tom and Ariana living under the same roof still, which obviously
I'm so tired of this conversation.
Which obviously we know now is not the case. This must have happened like right before Ariana closed on her house. So obviously she was not out of the house
When
yet.
did they film this? What, like
March?
early March? And
I think it was end of March.
It was like mid-March.
Mid to
end, I think.
The 20-something.
Yeah, so
whatever.
she only had like 2 weeks left on Broadway.
Yeah.
So she absolutely already had her own house in place. And I think her being able to move out because she had this lawsuit in place against him, she forced the sale. So I think that like she couldn't move out until she had some sort of legal proceeding in place already, and then she could abandon the property.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand why everyone is so hung up on them. Well, she still lived there. Like
but even though, like, no, she didn't, though, because she was living in the Airbnb in New York.
No, I know, but
Broadway
like beforehand, like the whole season, it's really
Right.
just like showing your privilege that like you are in a place where you could just up and leave your home.
Right? That's just some rich people shit.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's really frustrating when people are like, well, why is she still living there? Like, do you know how many people like break up and then have to stay for the lease because they can't afford to break it?
Yeah.
They can't afford it. It's a very normal thing to like have to still live with your ex for a little while.
There's actually a Bachelor Nation couple that had recently, they got married, they got engaged on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe you might know, Rachel Lindsay.
Yes.
From like years ago.
Yeah.
Married the guy,
Mhm.
right, that she picked.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just recently, like maybe over the last like several months ago, announced their divorce.
Okay.
And I just found out via Dave Neal, who is a regular Bachelor podcaster, announced that they are still living together as well. It's been months since they announced their divorce.
Because normal people cannot afford to just up and leave their houses.
Well, they're rich, but like there must be another. I didn't get to the reasons why they still live together, but they're probably very busy people.
And it's also probably a similar situation to Ariana and Tom. You can't abandon the home or you lose all rights to it.
Not even just that, but like I can only imagine, even for rich people, it's probably hard as fuck to find a house right now for anybody.
Absolutely.
Like, guys, the housing crisis is still a very real thing. So
yeah,
it's really hard for people.
Unlike
to find
Lala, we don't have mommies out here to buy us houses
and
buy us Airbnbs with cash so we can leave the home that we do not own with our baby daddy.
Right.
So I'm just really tired of them consistently asking the two. Even Tom, I feel bad for Tom having to consistently answer this question because it's like, well, this is the only thing that I have sympathy for both of them at the same time, because it's got to be incredibly annoying to consistently be like, why are you still living there? When the answer is like cut and dry.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true. That's true.
And we saw all season that it's very easy for them to coexist in that home without any sort of like...
Yeah, you got to give them credit for that. To avoid run-ins like under the same roof for practically a year.
They did a very good job.
Yeah.
And it's not uncommon, as much as Lala and some Bravo people like to make it out. And they make it out to be this huge thing. That, oh, you're still living with him. You can't have boundaries because you're still living with him.
Because plot.
Oh, I know that. But it's just, as a normal human being, right? A normal person in this economy that's making the normal amount of money that is not enough for people to live, it fucking makes sense why she's still there.
Yeah.
Like, let it go. So
with that, they bring up Schwartz potentially moving into the house, which obviously was not going to happen.
No, I don't believe that for a second.
They apparently are looking for investment properties, which I can't...
Why the fuck would you do that after watching the shit show that is Ariana and Tom trying to get rid of this house?
Also, not for nothing, you already are, you practically do already have a property. You have a restaurant that's literally just struggling. So then Andy then brings up Rachel's decision to not go back onto the show, but to go on a podcast. Not too much. I feel like there was so much talked about. I was really struggling to keep up. But
the beginning was very like rapid fire.
Yeah.
Why are you still doing this? You guys are still doing this. Oh, Rachel's talking about this. How do you feel about Rachel doing this? And then and then it was a commercial.
Yeah, that's fair. But long story short, Sandoval had said that he claims that he encouraged Rachel to take some time to herself away from everybody else, including him. And I think that that's bullshit, considering everything Rachel has already said in her podcast when they were constantly in contact. And she was the one who wanted to take time away from him. And he was the one calling her selfish for actually taking her program somewhat seriously at the time. I say somewhat because obviously it didn't work, but you know.
I mean, watch the beginning of the season. That man would not leave her alone.
Would not leave her alone.
Would not leave her alone.
He like was really banking on that storyline with her.
Absolutely.
For the whole first half of the
100%.
season.
He wanted to replay Kristen, Tom, Ariana.
Yeah.
But Tom, Rachel, Ariana.
Yeah. Lala was very quick to defend Rachel, saying that she deserves credit for showing up to last year's reunion. Part of me wants to say that's kind of true, but the part of me that's realistic also understands that Rachel signed a contract and knew she wasn't going to get that paycheck if she didn't show up to the reunion. So
they pay a fine if they don't.
Exactly. So, you know.
I don't think it's that commendable.
It's not. It's not that commendable.
I don't think it's anything to be like, good job, sweetheart.
You did your job.
You fucked a guy for 7 months that was in a relationship, and then you came and faced the wife. Good job, baby girl. No, shut the fuck up right now.
The only sentiment that I understand from that was that, you know, obviously she had to face what she did, right? And Ariana had the entire room's kind of support in that moment, or at least she had in the moment she had it,
yeah.
And Rachel had practically nobody. So it's like I understood that sentiment. And yes, it's not we already know that it was deserved. But yes. That was just the only part.
No, yeah. I mean, it does take I will give her it does take some balls to go into that room knowing exactly what you're getting yourself into. But she was still a coward in having a restraining order against Sheena and not facing everybody that she should have faced.
Yeah, especially after she dismissed the restraining order. I feel like she could have easily sent Sheena a text to be like, "I'm sorry, I did that, girl."
Oh, she's not sorry.
Of course, yeah. Sandoval calls Rachel a coward for not coming back. Schwartz is also quick to chime in and defend Sandoval because he's still out here sucking Sandoval's dick.
They are so enmeshed in each other. It's incredible.
And the way that he tried to like present it as if like Rachel was the perpetrator in all of it, it was gross.
Oh, his whole thing of he was too weak to say no when she took all her clothes off and got in his pool.
Oh, yeah. Well, Andy brought up Rachel's claim that Tom had groomed her, and Sandoval thinks that grooming only involved underage kids and brought up pedophilia.
No.
And I just wanted to, like, smack myself upside the head, because how are you that dumb? Like, Lala had to be the one to school him on what it means to be groomed. Lala probably would know, because let's be real, Lala may have been to some degree by Randall
I was
groomed.
literally just about to say that. As much as I despise Lala at the moment, I will not deny that she was definitely groomed in some way by Randall.
A much older man presenting all these gifts and promises of opportunities.
And she was freshly 20 something when she came on the show.
Yeah. Andy brings up Rachel. Before I get to that point, we'll go back to what you had said.
Yes.
Saying like, she was young and she was impressionable, and Sandoval says,
I was impressionable when she took her clothes off and jumped in my pool. Sir, was she tying you down? Was she holding money over your head? Was she like, you literally you could have turned your ass around and walked back into that house. That is a bullshit line. That was fucking bullshit. You're not being tied down, and like, you can say no.
Yeah. It's
not like you're a boss and you're lording, and she's your boss and she's lording your job over you if you don't sleep with her and start an affair. She's not holding Range Rovers and promises of money and wealth and fame and movies over your head if you sleep with him. Like, it's not the same. You could say no. And then, as Katie said last week, you made pointed choices every night after that to continue it. So bullshit. Nice try, Sandy, but no.
Yes. Andy then brings up Rachel's lawsuit against Ariana and Tom, which neither of them obviously are able to talk about because we don't even know when they're going to court officially yet.
No, but I will say, I will give Tom a little nod when he agreed that it was bullshit that Ariana was being.
I hope it's genuine. I hope it's genuine.
I want to so badly believe that there is some smidgen of like a soul in that man that has empathy. But I don't know. But I will commend him for that, for agreeing that it was bullshit. And then also in the same token, kind of alluding that like she was correct in suing him because he didn't say anything about himself.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope that they find a way to use that against him.
And it was also nice of Sheena to jump in there and say she didn't send it. She didn't,
because Ariana can't do that for herself. Yeah.
No, it was that. I will say that was a very good moment of the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm scared to see how this is going to go.
I'm so scared.
They then switch over to, because again, they really did handle these topics kind of like rapid
very
fire.
Quickly. Yeah, it was very rapid fire. Get to the good shit.
I was basically just aggressively taking notes to make sure I didn't miss anything.
I know.
So if I do miss anything, I'm sorry in advance. They do bring up Tom's thoughts of unaliving himself, and Tom says that everything he says gets scrutinized because he's not the smartest man on the planet, which that is correct, sir. You are a moron.
Fucking stupid.
You are a moron.
A rock is smarter.
And then Ariana has to remind everybody that her thoughts of unaliving herself are very well documented because that's basically a lot of what she talked about on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And that Tom was weaponizing her mental health. And while they didn't outright say it, we're looking at you, Howie Mandel, for getting him on that podcast because that's where it all started.
Well, it started with him using it as a reason why they couldn't break up.
Yep.
And Sheena called that. She said, "You should have. If you thought it was bullshit, why the fuck didn't you leave?"
But I thought it was really funny that Tom tried to pretend like he didn't realize like how he weaponized her mental health, and even Sheena was just like, "No, Tom, we talked about this."
Oh yeah. There's no but at the end of that sentence. The sentence is done.
Yep.
Yeah.
The sentence ends. I will say, Sandoval doesn't seem to be putting too much up of a fight with what everybody is telling him, and I feel like, and I hope. Listen, there's still 2 more parts of this reunion where I could very much be wrong and probably am.
We'll bite our tongue next week when he says some fucking bullshit again.
Right, but
yeah.
It showed, at least, I think, and hope, again, wishful thinking, that's the theme of today's podcast, maybe some growth, a little bit, in the slightest.
I hope, I don't know. It's so hard with him because I've watched him for years. And
oh yeah, that's true. He don't grow up.
No, but the thing is that like it's so hard because you want so badly for this person that you've watched for so long to grow up and to realize their mistakes and to have some fucking clarity and like I don't know, grace, smarts, not be ignorant as fuck.
Yeah.
But like
watch your mouth.
It's so hard with him because I think back now on all these moments where we thought he had growth, and now I look at it in a different lens of like, was that just performative?
Right.
And that's how I feel about this. It's like I said like 2 minutes ago, I want so badly to believe there's a glimmer of empathy in him, but at the same time, it's like I feel like he's watching like a narcissist. He's watched what people have said about him, and so he's going to chameleon himself into be exactly what he's going to have to be to get what he wants.
Well, that's kind of where I think he gets the thoughts of unaliving himself from, is because he knows that Ariana had talked about it for so long.
Oh no, yes,
he wanted to use that in his own favor.
Exactly. He didn't actually want to unalive himself. There's absolutely no part of Tom Sandoval that wants to stop living.
And it's funny because they do talk about how when Ariana was voicing those concerns, Tom didn't believe her, but then he expects everybody else around him to believe him when he's saying it. So it was like a nice, like, teaching moment, it seems.
A fucking narcissist.
Yeah, true. Oh, but then they transition to the comments. The OJ and George Floyd, New York Times comments.
You guys could hear the scream, we screamed.
Oh my God, they brought it up.
I did not anticipate.
They brought it up.
I didn't think they were going to bring that up. I didn't think they were going to bring up the lawsuit. I knew they would bring up the House lawsuit, but I did not anticipate the Rachel lawsuit coming up. And I especially did not anticipate him bringing up the New York Times. Those guys, the scream, we leapt off that couch.
The scream we screamed.
The scream we collectively reached for each other and went, ah! They brought it up!
Holy shit on a shit sandwich.
And then Lala and James are just like, he's fucking dumb.
Well, because he's a moron. Again, what he says is really dumb shit. I wrote it in quotes.
Oh, thank God.
I wrote in quotes. Do I have to make a sales pitch for myself?
Yes.
Are you fucking kidding me? You just made
idiot.
the most ignorant comparative comments, and you expect to defend yourself thinking that you need to make a sales pitch about yourself? Like, sir, you've done enough.
And his whole argument with that of there was more things going on in the world than this. I mean, it was in headlines between the Ukrainian war and like other serious stuff.
He
like,
could have made that point, though, by saying anything else that is not nearly as insulting.
correct. But I also think it's a stupid fucking argument. Things like that are in the news every fucking day. There's TV magazine stands with articles littered with the queen did this, the princess did this actress did this. Like it's literally how a news cycle works. They throw in pop culture in the middle of like political shit.
That's the cost of fame.
It's literally how it fucking works, and that excuse is so fucking stupid and ignorant. Like, yes, pop culture news is in between other news headlines. Have you never opened your news app on your phone and saw this is happening in Gaza, this is happening in Ukraine, this is happening in the Congo, this is happening in America?
Well, I guess he must have, right? Because he did bring up the war in Ukraine.
He did. And then also this bullshit thing in Hollywood. Like, it's literally how the news cycle works.
To the point where Katie brought up the concept of, what was it? Intention versus impact?
Yes.
Right? Was that it?
Yes. Intention versus impact. Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Your intention may have been well, but the impact fell flat because you're fucking stupid.
Because you're an idiot. And then Lala had to say, for the sake of the show, can you stop talking to people about it?
Fucking iconic. Fire your whoever, and then someone said, I think was it Andy that said,
Andy
fire
said
your PR team? Yeah, yeah, correct. Fire your whoever signed off on that article was just, I don't know. But me and New York Times had beef anyway because they did a whole fucking like opinion. And I say that in air quotes for people not watching YouTube. Fucking opinion piece on whether or not Taylor Swift is LGBTQ.
Oh, Jesus.
And all of like these like, so I have beef with the New York Times.
You know, the person who got that interview with the New York Times ran back to their office probably so giddy at the fact that they got him saying something that stupid.
Oh, 100%. Oh,
So
100%.
giddy.
If that was me, oh, hell yeah, I would have ran to my boss's office and be like, the shit that man just said. I have your fucking headline right here.
And his publicist just sat there and
he
did
didn't
nothing.
say shit.
So they transitioned then the conversation to talk about Lala and her pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like they gave us a little update, kind of, sort of, on the custody agreement with with Randall.
Mm-hmm.
Lala says that she doesn't seem to see any end anytime in sight, and
No.
that's unfortunate.
It is really unfortunate. But then she also mentioned that he's not really around that often.
Yeah, that's true.
So
So
it
it doesn't
feels
seem
like-
like it's all that impactful for Ocean, which is a good thing.
It sounds like she really just wants full custody, but he is not allowing full custody, but won't agree, and he's not around enough to have 50-50 custody.
Yeah.
Or like
It's just silly.
visitation. So it's very silly. It's a very drawn out rich people bullshit battle.
Yeah, it must be, right? Because if you're not around, it should be a no-brainer that the mom should get custody. I don't understand what the fucking
Like,
need
why
for all
can't
this
we-
battle is
Why
for.
can't we agree on her having full custody and you having visitation?
Right.
If you're a very busy movie producer, right? You go out have visitation and move on with your life.
So stupid.
I wonder how long the custody battle was with his first wife.
Ooh.
I
Yeah,
wonder
right?
if he pulled her through the ringer too.
I
And
think
it sounds
he probably
like
did.
she has full custody with visitation from what Lala has said and the way that you see them.
That wasn't that long ago either. I feel like I remember when, like, not exactly when, but I feel like I remember reading something about that when it came out.
I'm sure that was also drawn out. And
Oh, yeah.
but with all of these things about him and all these allegations that have come out and this money issues and these
And I'm sorry, Fofties.
and the essay claims and the casting couch and he can't produce under his name anymore, so he goes by an
Ives, yeah.
yeah. Like with all of these things, you're telling me we can't solve a custody battle?
Right. Crazy.
It makes no sense.
He's still probably out there borrowing people's money.
Oh, 100%.
They then transitioned to Sheena and Brock talking about Summer Moon, her
Aw.
nanny. Quick little check-in. Looks like they're still working with Gabby, the nanny.
Which good. It's progress.
Yes, it is progress. Sheena talks a little bit about just having postpartum OCD. I don't really think there was anything different from what we were hearing about all season.
No, and they talked about how they went to Australia and he had the door open for his children to see him, but they didn't want to. And I will commend Brock on this, that he is not pushing the children to see him, because a lot of times when children do not want to see that parent that they feel abandoned them, they are then forced into it by said parent or other parental figures and adults because, well, that's your father.
Right.
Well, that's your mother. And I will commend Brock on respecting his children's boundaries.
Yeah.
Because not many adults do that.
Yeah.
When a child voices their opinions, they say, well, you're so young, he's your father, so you have to see him. You don't know. You don't know. You're just a kid. So it's very commendable of Brock to have the door open and keep the door open and respect that they don't want to see him right now.
Yes. And in this moment, too, we finally see that scene that they've been baiting us
God.
with all season in the trailers, where Sheena says she doesn't know if her and Brock would last forever. And it turns out that was really just one of her intrusive thoughts as a result from her postpartum OCD.
And it wasn't even that she thought they would get divorced. It's because one of them is going to die.
I didn't even think about the fact that we didn't see that scene when we were actively watching that dinner happen.
I know. I think I mentioned it. I don't remember. It was weeks ago at this point. But yeah, they baited that with us in the trailer and then couldn't even put it in the fucking episode.
Crazy. But
well, they did that with the fight too. Didn't they put the fight from last week in the trailer, but then didn't actually put it in the aired episode? It's in the extended cut. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But yeah, you already briefly mentioned it a little bit, but about talking about his relationship with his kids.
Mm-hmm.
We did find out that Brock is and has been now for the last couple of years up to date now on his child support payments. Good. So that is no longer an obstacle.
No, and he said tonight his ex-wife is willing for him, the door is open. Yeah. She has the door open, his door is open, but they don't want it. And I think it's very commendable of both him and his ex-wife to listen to their children.
And it's interesting, right, that he can respect the boundaries of his children, but not for Ariana.
Yeah, well, men pick and choose which boundaries they like.
Clearly, right? You understand when your kids don't want to be near you because of something shitty that you did.
You can't understand the same for Ariana.
But you can't understand it for Ariana, who had something shitty happen to her by your friend.
Well, it's because it's hindering their paycheck. I say, again, in air quotes.
Yeah.
That's the difference. It's hindering his ability to pay his bills. It's his job.
Yep.
She's putting his job at risk.
Yep. So, sorry, we had to shit on Brock a little bit for a second. But to put it back on a positive, Katie does say that she was eating her words from 3 years ago and has seen how great of a dad Brock is to Summer. Because as much shit as we will talk about Brock and his behaviors towards Ariana this season, there's no denying he is a wonderful dad to Summer.
No. He really seems to enjoy his being a dad to Summer. And I don't think we should... And I feel like this with everybody. I don't think we should really hold everyone's past mistakes over them if they are trying and showing progress and change.
If they're
actively learning. Like he is paid back his child support. Like he's respecting his older children. He's trying to be the dad that he wasn't the first time around.
He's at a place now with his ex-wife, right, where they can actually have that open line of communication.
Co-parent as best as they can. I think we really should commend him on that. I don't think we should rake him over the coals for the rest of his life if he's showing improvement.
Correct.
He is a douchebag sometimes, and he has some really shitty takes, and he says some really shitty things, and he's done some really shitty things to his ex-wife and his children, but he's showing progress and change, and the whole point of the human experience is to grow and change.
He even said it himself at the reunion. Actions have consequences.
Yes.
He said it himself. He's fully aware of it and understands it.
The consequence of his actions that they don't want to see him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's accepting that.
I think that there's a chance his kids will want to talk to him again. I think it won't probably happen until like their early-ish adulthood. Like maybe they're like early to mid-20s is my guess.
Yeah.
Because like, let's be real, when you're a teenager, right, you don't think about those
when
things.
You're a teenager, it's even worse. Your body's changing. Your hormones are all over the place. You're even angsty and angrier than you were 2 years ago when you were like 12.
Let's see. Oh, then they pivot to talking about Ariana and Dan's relationship. Ariana then says that she would like to be bi-coastal. Part of me thinks, and I know she said it's because her life is in LA and stuff, but part of me thinks that it might just be the sandwich shop. I feel like that's starting to kind of hold her down. And then, of course, the prospect of filming another season of Vanderpump Rules. And then, so Ariana is also confronted about how she moved on with Dan fairly quickly. And Ariana did say something along the lines of, I don't want to put my life on hold before I consider myself to be like fully healed.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a really fair assessment. We've talked about this 100 times, so I won't beat a dead horse with it. But
No.
I mean, it's very clear that she's prioritizing herself, her mental health, her career, her money.
As she should.
And Dan is able to do the same thing. They are very clearly working on building themselves up right now. Somebody once said, and I believe it was Dave Neal, that your relationship should never be your main course. Your life should be your main course. Yes. And then the relationship should be like the fun dessert afterwards.
Yeah.
And I resonate with that.
Yeah, when she said to James, when James was like, oh, well, when they brought up the difference between how Dan was received and Allie was received, but he was like, well, she started dating 8 days and I was a few months. And then Ariana was very quick to say, I met him 8 days later. We didn't start a relationship for a couple of months.
Yeah. Which was, and yeah, so they ended up arguing about literally the same thing. That was something that confused me for a second.
Yeah, but so the sentiment was that it was the exact same situation, except that everyone had taken Rachel's side, so he was not going to win. That was the difference.
Oh, true. Yes.
So that's why Allie wasn't received because Rachel was sided with, and why Dan was received because Ariana was sided with.
Yeah.
But it was the same that she said. It was hard to hear her because James was doing his thing where he was wound up and now he's going. But she had said, I met him 8 days later. We didn't start a relationship officially until a couple months later.
Yeah. And then they talk about Tom's relationship with Victoria Lee. James mentioned, I guess, so apparently, and I don't know if this is a fact.
Hysterical to me. James
remembers in Sandoval and Ariana's washroom.
Yes.
So, like, what is that, a bathroom?
Probably like their laundry room, yeah.
Or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There was this wallpaper that had Leonardo DiCaprio on it, or a photo of Leonardo DiCaprio with a tall blonde model. Brunette that may or may not have been Victoria Lee. And Ariana was the one who picked it.
Uh-huh. That is so funny to me. Yeah, because she said at that moment when James brought it up, she goes, oh, I picked that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's really funny to me. He probably feels so cool dating someone the same as someone that Leonardo DiCaprio. You just know that Tom is just like so hyped up in his head about himself now.
His ego is eating.
Oh, his ego is loving it. Oh, hell yeah.
She apparently went with him to St. Louis recently to go meet his family and stuff. So Andy then transitions to Lisa talking about closing Pump. Mm-hmm. Apparently there was also a point where fresh after the scandal had broken, backlash was all over the place. There was apparently the idea thrown around that maybe they should change the name of Tom Tom.
So interesting.
Very interesting.
So interesting.
I'm wondering what made her decide not to do that ultimately.
Probably the fact that this was going to blow over.
It was going to blow over, and it's a bitch to have to change the name of a business.
The menu's got to change, the business name, then you got to change all the bills at the business. Yeah. It's probably more expensive than what it was worth.
Yeah, that's
knowing that the scandal is going to pass someday.
Yeah. They briefly mentioned too, like, why they closed Pump, and it was because the rent was being raised.
Isn't that a lie?
No, it was true. There was a dispute over raising the rent, but then there was something else going on where the landlord is suing Lisa and Ken over something. I don't really remember what it was. It was so long ago, but I am pretty sure they are still in litigation for it.
Restaurant landlord suing Todd for almost $1 million, allegedly breaching their contract.
There it is. Okay, because probably they were supposed to renew the lease or something. They probably didn't want to do it because the rent was too high. That makes sense.
Allegedly breaching his rental contract with the landlords, has failed and refused to continues to fail and refuse to keep and perform their lease conditions.
Correct. Okay. Yep. So I don't know if that ever got out of court yet. They might still be settling that.
I mean, it didn't come up, so.
Yeah, so sounds like that's still a thing. But then this transitions into the challenges with opening something about her. Obviously, by last year's reunion, we were expecting something about her to be already open. Obviously, it's not, and there have been a lot of things. I'm shocked that there had been no mention of Penny. No mention of Penny whatsoever.
Really anticipated Lisa bringing her up.
Well, this is why I say this, right? Lisa blames Ariana for being away and for disagreements between Ariana and Katie on something about her because Ariana was never there. And I couldn't help but wonder because Katie and Ariana both vehemently denied this.
Yes.
So my thought immediately was, what did Penny tell her? Right?
Oh, what did Penny tell her?
Because did you see that Penny was out there just talking in the streets and releasing text messages between her and Katie?
Really?
Oh, that was tea of the week. I probably should have included. So a little extra nugget of tea for you guys.
Penny's messy.
Penny's been out here trying to go on pot because she's mad
because they didn't make her a partner.
Not just that, but she's mad that they were talking about it on the show, and so she was like, "I didn't get to share my side." So Penny insists that she sent them a letter of intent to become a partner. There was never a contract signed,
so you're not a partner.
But she is adamant that she was a partner because she did do all this work with like the menus and dealing with the town for the permits and whatever.
Unless it's in writing, then no, you're not.
Well, exactly, and so I guess that's what they're going back and forth about.
Just because you have a letter of intent doesn't mean that you're actually a partner if a partner contract was not signed.
Well, that's the thing, and she said that there were things in the contract that she did not agree with. And one of those things was that they can terminate their contract at any point in time. But here's the deal, right? And I know this from experience.
Yes. I know. I feel like I defer to you for this because you're like the business girly.
You can put that clause in a contract. It's more common than you know. Penny knows this.
No, Lewis Hamilton actually has that in his when he renewed his contract with Mercedes last year. He had a clause in there that he can terminate it at any time. And he pulled that trigger before this current F1 season even began.
Well, I'm talking about it could be the other way around because technically, right, it's NASCAR that puts him in that contract,
Formula One. Well, so Mercedes
or
it's
Formula
One.
Okay.
But NASCAR drivers have the exact same. It's in every contract. The team or the driver can initiate that clause whenever they fucking want to.
Gotcha. Okay. So in this case, it was more one-sided, which again is the case most of the time.
Yes.
That's usually what happens. Like when you're an independent contractor, especially, and you're signing a contract for a 1099, you can literally sign on and like say it'll be for 6 months, but you have to read that contract and see that they can terminate that contract whenever they please without warning, without notice or anything.
That's common. It's duh. It's like a duh.
So I can't help but wonder if Penny was just simply trying to take advantage of that and use the public perception as like her weapon to try and be like, well, why would they do that to me?
Joke's on her. She probably was thinking the same Lala of like, everyone's going to turn on Ariana and Katie. I got to get bank in on this. Well, like, joke's on her because the public is very clearly team Ariana and Katie.
Yeah. And
nobody is thinking Penny. Well, I wouldn't say nobody because there definitely are people. But most people are very much like Penny is sit down.
I just feel, and granted, when they filmed the reunion, obviously, like, nothing had come out yet about Penny and stuff. Like, we only knew what was said during the season. We knew about the fact that their agreement ended. She filed the trademark and stuff. Very weird. Very, very weird.
I wonder if Lisa didn't bring it up because bringing it up would put Penny in a bad light. And she's very clearly Team Penny because she very much tried it in that moment to make the girls look stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And her approach to their answer was, well, I don't believe that. When in turn, when asked about Schwartz and Sandy, she was very much like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. You know, sometimes it's hard. You know what I mean? Her, very different from the way that she was at Schwartz and Sandy's. And I think this, like, the way that she acted tonight about it was very clearly like she's butthurt for Penny. Because Penny was her in to get in with the girls. We've said this for weeks now that Lisa is very clearly butthurt. The girls did not ask for her input, haven't taken her input. Fired, I say in air quotes, Penny, like, so Lisa's pissed. And she probably didn't bring up Penny because she knew it would put Penny in a bad light and she wants Penny to win.
Yeah, it's very fucking weird. But then Ariana is asked about Lala and her interactions with Sandoval. Ariana mentioned not having watched the season, so she has no idea what was going on behind her back.
Mhm.
She just took Lala's word.
Well,
Basically, Lala said that she was being very honest with
Mhm.
Ariana. We don't know, but we don't really know what Lala was really saying to Ariana.
We
But
don't,
it definitely was not the shit that we were seeing in those
No,
confessionals.
and that scene really hurt because Ariana was so sincere of, I haven't watched because it was going to bring me back to a dark place and I just want to live in the present. And her schedule with Broadway was so, strict and busy. And like when Sheena didn't end up watching one of her seasons, if you remember from your binge watching with Max, when she was doing that show in Vegas.
She was so she was watching, but she fast forwarded through everybody else's parts.
Well, yes, and but it's not uncommon. Like so you have a clear indication of like where you stand in the show, right? Ariana just chose not to watch it to protect herself, which I think is admirable of her.
It's admirable, but I just wish that she would have seen it. I wish she would have seen it because it would have given us. I think it would have given us more for this reunion,
and it would have it would hurt less in a little bit when she gets the wool pulled over, the veil gets lifted, because right now, like in that scene, she so sincerely was like, no, I love Lala, and Lala, like I didn't hold it against her and all these things, and like she was so sincere about it, and like Lala's line to her face, and Katie makes a face in that moment, and I pointed out to you.
Katie made many faces.
Katie makes many faces, but Katie made a face in that moment because Katie knows the truth.
Yeah.
But she didn't, but you could see like she so badly wanted to say something, but like bit her tongue.
Yeah.
Because Ariana's trusting who she thinks was a friend. And for all she knows, her lived experience of that season was Lala had her back.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Ariana first found out about the shit that Sheena and Lala were saying, like, at the reunion.
Oh, I guarantee it.
Like, she was probably expecting these girls to be like her, like the Spice Girls.
No, she absolutely did.
And this was probably the moment where she was like, oh, okay, we're probably not great friends after all.
It absolutely is a reunion, because then when she closes on Broadway, Sheena tries to go backstage and talk with her, and she ignored them completely.
That's true.
So it absolutely, at the reunion, she realized the truth and just cut ties.
Yeah.
And Sheena even said recently that she hasn't heard from Tom or Ariana at all. But yes, I have no doubt by the end of this reunion, we see why she no longer speaks to either one of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And why they're scrambling like hardcore to like redeem themselves.
Yeah. So now we go into Katie and Lala's back and forth.
So confusing.
They've had issues because Lala was getting closer to Sheena when Katie was on the outs with her. So this obviously means that these issues started last season.
Yes.
When Sheena and Katie were not really friendly because, reminder, Sheena had Schwartz on her podcast, and this was when they were starting to kind of plant the seeds of having Schwartz make out with Raquel and all that weird stuff. Lala says that Katie, I guess her and Katie must have been DMing each other and having a little bit of a fight, and said something so hurtful that Lala needs to get rid of her lawyers in her custody battle and hire a therapist because you're a fucking clown. And this is when I kind of put the pieces together from the things that Lala was saying earlier in the season.
Yes.
This must have been the incident that happened before the season 10 reunion that put them on the outs.
Yeah.
Because Lala had said earlier in the season on her podcast that her and Katie just had something happen and they just weren't really able to come back from it, and that's why they fought at the girls' night when Allie did her astrology night.
I mean, it was a very Tequila Katie messy thing to say, but not necessarily untrue.
But we don't really know the context of what was really going on, and I think that's why we were getting so confused.
Because Lala doesn't do context; she does whatever context is in her favor. So her not giving what led Katie to say that, right?
Yeah.
What led Katie to say that? Because Katie doesn't come out and say shit like that unless warranted,
unless provoked,
or provoked.
And like we get that Katie can be pretty mean. Like I'm not gonna pretend.
She can be very abrasive and mean.
I'm not gonna forget the fact that I didn't like Katie for the first like 9 seasons of the show.
No, of course not.
But I was getting very confused because Katie, of course, denied having said these things. And I'm sure, like, some of the things she said.
Well, she did say that she did call her a clown.
Right.
And she did say that you need therapy.
Yes.
But
the context about the custody battle was not something she recalls including.
No. It was probably something of like, stop paying for all these lawyers and just like pay for a therapist instead. Why don't you drop a couple of the lawyers and pay for a therapist?
Which isn't all that far off.
No, but Lala doesn't believe in therapy.
Well,
which was annoying when she said that on the thing. She goes, I think everyone should pay for a therapist. When on your podcast a couple weeks ago, you literally said you don't believe in therapy.
Yeah, that sounds like Lala.
Well, it's performative. Yeah. Right, because therapy nowadays is a very positive thing. It's very much encouraged, and it's a positive. Mental health is a positive thing nowadays, right? We've kind of changed the narrative around it, and she recognizes it. She's not stupid. She recognizes that. So I think everyone should have therapy. But on your podcast with your little yes men, you're out here. I think it was a podcast. It was something where
it probably was her podcast.
It was
That's
like,
the only
I
other
don't
thing
believe
that she
in
does.
therapy. You just like deal with it with yourself.
Yeah.
And like that's not how that works. You are so traumatized by Randall and all of this custody thing that like it's obvious you have some shit in your head. Like go talk about it. Deal with your trauma. Mm-hmm. And then maybe you would understand where Ariana is coming from with her boundaries.
Which is interesting too, because this is literally the same Lala that started season 11. Talking about how she needed to start processing through that trauma and those issues. And then we never saw any of that for the rest of the season.
Didn't the season start with her sitting down at Tom Tom with Katie and Ariana being like, I'm so thankful for you guys?
No.
Was that last season?
That was last season.
Okay, I'm mixing them all up.
Sorry. This season started with Lala sitting in her apartment with her mother saying that, you know, after dealing with all of like the shit from last year with the scandal and everything, she needs to start putting herself first, and she needs to start processing through her own traumas and dealing with her shit so she can be a better mom to Ocean.
Yes. She's not fucking doing that.
And then she just, I guess somewhere along the way, they dropped that plot line. It like no longer became a thing, and we never heard about that shit from Lala ever again. This is why Lala wanted to be in like her soft era.
Well, her soft era is bullshit.
Yeah.
I didn't see a soft era.
I didn't see a soft era.
Anywhere.
Yeah. So Lala basically insinuates that that Katie had abandoned her this season. And that Katie was apparently talking shit about Ariana and her success because she was too busy to be at the sandwich shop. And now that I've had like about an hour to process this, right?
Okay.
Because in the moment I was very confused because I'm trying to take notes and I'm trying to like pay attention to what's going on at the same time, and I felt like I was getting a little lost in the argument.
It's okay. I was also lost in the argument and I wasn't taking notes.
And from what it sounds like, right, is that Katie must have been airing out some grievances, right, about Ariana not being as present with the sandwich shop because she's had a bunch of opportunities.
Yes.
And Lala probably took it in a way that, oh, Katie's feeling exactly what Sheena and I are feeling, whatever that may be, because even now we still don't understand
jealousy.
Yeah, pretty much. But Lala basically swears that Katie was also essentially mad that Ariana was successful, and Katie sounds like she's trying to be like, no, like I was expressing like moments of frustration, but that's not something that I wanted to go bringing to the table with Ariana. And Ariana looked very confused that whole time.
She was confused because I think I said this last week or the week before that I guarantee you it was just friends venting to friends.
Yep.
Right? I'm frustrated with this situation, but I know it's not necessarily her fault and she's doing her best, but I'm annoyed. I think we said it last week. It was literally like she's dealing with all this by herself and she's frustrated, but she's not mad at Ariana. She's frustrated. And Lala is taking this frustration as she is team take down the woman who thinks she's Beyonce.
And also, this is why Lala has been saying in the after shows, right, that she's been comparing something about her to Schwartz and Sandy's because of that situation with Sandoval and Schwartz, where Sandoval decided to go off on tour and leave Schwartz to deal with the bar. This is also why I personally thought when Sheena and Katie did their Chili's commercial and they were doing the press for it, right? They kind of touched a little bit on that topic. And it kind of seemed as though Katie was also not on Team Ariana. And that's why I became very skeptical a few weeks back about her friendship with Ariana. Because it's like, are we missing something? And this is also why Lala swears that Katie is not being the same person on camera that she was being off camera.
Which I think is bullshit because I think Katie has been one of the only people on this entire show for the entirety of its run that is the same person on and off camera.
I just wonder why Katie didn't fully explain it.
She was trying to in that moment, but Lala kept talking over her.
That's true.
She literally was like, I was venting to a friend. It wasn't, you're making it out to be what it wasn't. I'm telling you that it's not this. And Lala is just doing that thing where she's yelling to get louder so that her voice is heard more.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this is what's frustrating is that, like, Tom fled not because he needed money and he had incredible opportunities. It was because he was fleeing the damage that he caused, right?
Yeah.
He blew up. He dropped a bomb, and now he's running from the wreckage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of helping to clean it up. Ariana was given an opportunity to make money and get herself out of that wreckage, to be able to get out of that house.
Yeah.
Right? No true friend, I'm not is going to hold that against you. I'm going to be frustrated, but I'm not going to be mad. Like, I'm not going to hold it against you.
Like, Katie has a greater understanding for Ariana's situation.
It wasn't malicious.
Let it go, yeah.
And that Lala bringing it up is malicious.
Mm-hmm.
She's not doing it to be a good friend. She's doing it to further the narrative that Ariana is wrong.
Yeah.
And the rest of us are right.
Yep. And just like that, credits.
Just like that, credits.
That was one of the fastest hours I felt like we've dealt with the whole season.
I literally looked up at the clock and I was like, what the fuck?
I'm like, oh shit, it's over?
The credits are rolling on the bottom of the screen as Katie and Lala are yelling at each other, and I was like, I have questions.
So we get our tease for part 2. We see that Allie and Joe will be getting involved next week.
Not Joe crying because Katie doesn't want to be your fucking friend.
Yeah, but apparently Joe says that Katie apologized to her at some point. So I hope we actually get to see that. Otherwise, I'm going to laugh my ass off.
Joe is just ruining her own. She's ruining whatever she would gain from this reunion. She has ruined with her 3-hour lives every other day.
So for the sake of our schedules, right? Because we are very limited as to when we can record the pod. Yes. I'm lucky. I'm very thankful to be recording this on a Tuesday, so I can literally just work on this all day tomorrow. And then if I finish a good chunk of it, it's not going to take up the rest of my week when I'm busy working.
I know.
So with that said, we will do what you guys want, and we will recap the Valley.
I hate you guys so much.
But we're going to wait until after part 3 of the Vanderpump reunion, so we're not overwhelming ourselves.
No. We both have full-time jobs. We can only do what we can. We're trying, guys.
So
we appreciate your love and patience.
Yes. So when part 3 is over, we'll jump right onto the Valley. And I know that we won't have that much longer until the Valley is over, so then maybe we'll hop into Summer House because then we're going to have that break. You know?
I'm willing to suffer through the Valley, and I am willing to binge a new Bravo show.
Well, the good news for you is that the Valley does not have that much longer left. I mean, remember, they're only doing like an 8-episode season. They probably only have another couple weeks left.
Liddy.
Yeah, so they're almost done.
Okay, I watched that episode today. And I didn't hate it. And then we saw like a smidgen of tonight's episode when we were getting ready. And I also didn't hate that, right? Because it's not the Jax show. So I know that Jax is not like the main. It's just the fact that I have to hear his voice for an hour.
I think, well, and I've explained this before too. I think that it's a little harder for us to really enjoy it because us in particular, I don't think we're in that target demographic. I think the only place where we somewhat meet the demographic is because we came from the VPR demographic. But we're not
like married with children.
Yeah, we're not parents, we're not married, we're not in relationships that are to that level.
No.
As of right now. So it's like it's harder for us to resonate with these characters minus like Kristen.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we can't resonate with her either because we're not on a whole fertility journey, but
yeah, no, I'm snail pacing my way through mine, so.
Yeah, feels same. But
we're young. I know I called myself old at the beginning, but we're young.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're doing what we can. We're trucking along. So we go on this long tangent to say that we're going to get to the Valley, I promise.
We're going to get to the Valley, and then we will see what you guys, if we want to like start the Summer House from this past season or go back from the beginning and see what we think from the beginning, or like.
I'm probably going to watch from the beginning regardless because I need that context.
Same. Yes, but we'll see where y'all want us to start with first and go from there.
And we'll go from there. All right, well, we're not going to keep you guys
I'm
much
sorry,
longer, but thank you for sticking around for this recap. I hope you guys enjoyed. I already gave you all of our stuff to follow.
We
for
did
once.
so good. We did it in the beginning.
I know, we did in the beginning. And we will see you for part 2.
Yeah, I love you guys.
Love you guys.
Bye.